I never thought I would see Wu Air again. At this moment, I was wearing cheap clothes, an apron around my waist, pushing a cart of high-end red wine, watching the woman in the center of the banquet, surrounded and adored by all. She was tall with fair skin and exquisitely carved features, flawless in every way. My steps faltered as I pushed the cart. Due to some issues, my left leg was slightly disabled, so I had to be careful. No joke, each bottle of wine on this cart was worth more than my annual salary. I slowly made my way through the crowd, arriving at the very center of the banquet hall. The woman, radiant as the moon, looked at me and paused for a moment. I bowed my head deeply, my hands clenched tightly in my clothes, and cold sweat trickled down my forehead. Luckily, Wu Air was only stunned for half a second before taking a few glasses of red wine that I couldn't even name from the cart, continuing to chat and laugh with the people around her. Everyone around seemed to be fawning over her. In just a few short years, Wu Air had built a business empire worth billions and was now the country's most sought-after young entrepreneur. Seeing that she no longer noticed me, I pushed the cart away from the center of the hall, as if fleeing, standing at a distance quietly watching Wu Air, who appeared to be bathed in warm spring light. She was handling the interactions with the various bosses effortlessly. My name is Zhao Li. Wu Air was my girlfriend, or rather, my ex-girlfriend, since I was the one who broke up with her despite her pleas. Wu Air and I met in the spring of my university days. At the time, my family had a small business, making me a minor second-generation rich kid. Like other rich kids, I was young and impetuous. I enjoyed drinking, hitting the bars, dancing, and racing, recklessly squandering my youth. It was on one such day that I met Wu Air. I was with a group of my friends at our regular bar, and I noticed her while she was bringing us our drinks. The Wu Air of that time was different from the one now. She was somewhat hunched over, her skin was sallow, and whether it was from nervousness or her work environment, she seemed listless and exhausted. "Why are you serving us today? Where's Xiaomei?" I asked. "Xiaomei always served us when we came here." "Xiaomei is off today. I'm filling in for her," Wu Air replied softly. "What's your name?" "I'm Wu Air." "Wu Air, that's a beautiful name. I like it a lot." "Thank you." After saying this, she left as if fleeing. Looking at her retreating figure, for some reason, I felt a twinge of emotion. At that time, I didn't know that this fragile girl would be intertwined with me for life. Seeing me staring after Wu Air, my friends teased, "Say, you wouldn't be interested in that little girl, would you? It's a shame. She has a good figure, but she's a bit ugly." "Go away," I spat. "This young master has better taste than that. Come on, let's drink tonight." We drink until we drop. By the time the drinking session ended, it was late at night. Lying on my bed, my hands behind my head, staring at the ceiling, the image of Wu Air kept flashing in my mind. Even though it was the first time I had seen her, Wu Air gave me a strange sense of familiarity, as if we were lovers in a past life. At the time, I just shook my head, not thinking too much about it, and dismissed it as a youthful infatuation. The next time I saw Wu Air was at a university club activity. She was wearing a checkered shirt and handing out flyers, sweating profusely. When she handed me a flyer, I looked at her in surprise. "Hey, Wu Air, what are you doing here?" Wu Air looked at me. Her skin was still sallow, and even a little dark, but her eyes were as clear as could be. "Who are you?" Wu Air didn't recognize me right away. "It's me, Zhao Li, from that day at the Elysium bar." Before I could finish speaking, she hurriedly covered my mouth, her tone urgent. I remember. This is school, please don't say it." Looking at her flustered expression, I suddenly found her a bit cute. "Stop handing these out. Come, let's go talk," I said, pointing to a nearby coffee shop. No, I'm doing a part-time job. If I finish handing out these flyers, I'll get you on. I'll give you 1,000. Come have coffee with me." Hearing my words, Wu Air looked hesitant. After thinking for a moment, as if she had made a decision, she prepared to speak, but I didn't give her the chance. I reached out and snatched the flyers from her hands, throwing them into the nearby trash can. "If you don't speak, I'll take that as a yes," I said, pulling her along. Wu Air seemed shocked by my actions and didn't react, letting me pull her to the coffee shop and sit there in a daze. I waved my fingers in front of her eyes. "Hey, stop daydreaming. Hurry up and order whatever you want, it's on me." It was then that she reacted. Looking at the menu, she pondered for a long time before choosing the cheapest Americano. I said it's on me, Why are you drinking something so cheap? I asked, puzzled. Her voice was soft. I just like this. Don't you find it bitter? If you drink something bitter, life won't be bitter, she said earnestly. I looked at the girl before me. Her features were actually quite beautiful, but because of her skin and years of sun exposure, her face was covered in many spots and acne, concealing her beauty. You shouldn't have thrown away my things. Ware looked at me and said, I get yuan for them, but I'm giving you 1,000 yuan. Then I could have finished handing them out and come with you, and I'd have yuan. Then I'll just give you then. If I finished handing them out, I'd have yuan. Stop. I couldn't argue with her anymore. It felt like if I kept going, it would become my fault, so I had to change the topic. During our conversation, I learned that she was also a student at our school, majoring in design. Her family was very poor. Her parents divorced when she was young, and she was awarded to her father, but her father was a gambler who had never supported her. It was her grandmother who raised her. Starting from high school, she had worked part-time to earn her tuition and living expenses, but her father was a complete scoundrel. He had never given her a single penny, and he would often steal the money she had worked hard to earn and gamble it away. She couldn't do anything about it. There were many times she was almost unable to pay her tuition. If her teacher hadn't known about her situation and paid for her tuition, she might not have even finished high school. She was very competitive, working part-time while studying hard for 3 years of high school, and finally got into this university. However, on the very day she was admitted, her grandmother also passed away. At that moment, she had no relatives left in the world. After starting university with no one to look after her, she continued to work part-time while studying. Occasionally, she would even be bled dry by her scumbag father. This time, she was short on tuition fees, which was why she was working part-time at a bar and why she was handing out flyers under the scorching sun just for that yuan. After hearing about her experiences, a pang of sorrow welled up in my heart. Since childhood, I had seen all kinds of people, even those who had it worse than her, but for some reason, I felt an inexplicable and overwhelming urge to protect Ware. Growing up in wealth, I couldn't imagine how she, with a thin frame, was bearing such immense pressure. Why don't you just follow me from now on? I'll cover your tuition fees, and I'll also give you a monthly salary, I said to her. Her expression changed slightly. She looked at me with weariness, her arms crossed over her chest. Her reaction made me chuckle a bit. Relax, I'm not going to make you do anything, you know. I'm a rich second generation. How can a rich second generation not have a follower? If you don't agree, so be it. I agree, Ware quickly answered. From that day on, I was always followed by a somewhat plain-looking girl. She would silently take me home after I got drunk, listen quietly to my complaints when I was in a bad mood, and stop me in time before I did something wrong. My thoughts returned to the present. The woman in the center of the room was being teased by everyone. Someone asked her, President Wu, do you have a boyfriend now? Ware smiled, her eyes glancing towards me as if by accident. She slowly opened her mouth and said, I had an ex-boyfriend before. Ware paused. And unfortunately, he dumped me for someone else. Who is so blind they dumped such a wonderful woman like President Wu? If it were me, I would be burning incense to my ancestors, someone replied from below. Just then, a tall and handsome man hooked his arm through Ware's slender one and said, Honey, haven't I told you not to think about the past anymore? Everyone, please excuse her. Ware is my girlfriend, and we're about to get engaged soon. The man's tone was confident and generous. Ware exchanged a smile with him. So it's young Master Wang Luan. Miss Ware and young Master Wang Luan are a match made in heaven. Someone immediately echoed from below. I knew that man, Wang Luan, a famous young entrepreneur in our city. I often saw him in the news and business magazines. And the ex-boyfriend that Ware mentioned, the one who dumped her, was me. Back then, to avoid bringing her trouble, I could only hurt her with the most cutting words, making her hate me. When did Ware and I start dating? It was probably about 3 months after she started following me. As usual, I took her out for drinking and clubbing, but that day I drank too much and was so drunk that I didn't know how to get home. I even lost part of my memory. When I slowly woke up, I was already home, and Ware was dozing beside me. She was always like this, taking care of me all night every time I got drunk, only sleeping briefly before dawn. Perhaps sensing my movement, Ware opened her eyes and quietly looked at me. The atmosphere today was different from usual. Her eyes were red, her clothes were tattered, and there were many red marks on her neck, cheeks, and even chest. Looking at her disheveled state, my heart suddenly panicked, fearing that I might have done something terrible to her while I was drunk. I didn't do anything, did I? I asked her cautiously. Last night you got drunk, very drunk. You hugged me and said a lot of nonsense, and you even tried to molest me. She pointed to the red marks on her neck and face, tears welling up in her eyes. If you weren't so drunk last night, I would have been. Didn't you say you wanted me to be your follower and wouldn't bully me? Wu Er's tears streamed down her cheeks. Then she covered her face and cried. I realized that I had almost caused a catastrophe last night, but having been smooth sailing since childhood, I had never seen such a situation. I was at a loss and could only numbly apologize and say sorry. From that day on, she unilaterally terminated our agreement and stopped following me around. After Wu Er was no longer by my side, I realized that she had left an indelible mark in my heart. I started to lose my appetite, and her image lingered in my mind. I began to appear in front of her in various ways, sending her all kinds of things to make her happy. Days a year, I could come up with a different holiday each day to ask her out. I even announced to the whole school that she was my woman and that anyone who bullied her would be my enemy. Whether it was because I was annoying her to the point of no return or for some other reason, one day she requested to meet me. I was so happy at the time and had prepared a belly full of things I wanted to say to her. But when I actually saw her, I couldn't say a single word. She hadn't changed much. Seeing my hesitant appearance, she spoke first. What exactly do you want? At that moment, I wanted to tell her that I was wrong, that I couldn't live without her, that I missed her so much, etc. But ultimately, all the words converged into one sentence. Wu Er, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend? After I said that, I wanted to run away from that place, but at the same time, I wanted to know the answer. I looked nervously at Wu Er, my breathing slightly faster. If others knew that the former playboy of the nightclubs would be so nervous in front of a girl, they would probably stare with disbelief. The storm that I imagined didn't come. Wu Er smiled. You like me, so why did you bully me? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I was drunk then. You're not allowed to drink anymore in the future, and in the future, it will be me who bullies you. At that moment, I didn't immediately understand what Wu Er meant by her words. Later, when I realized she had agreed, I was overjoyed and rushed over to hug her tightly, afraid that she would leave me again. Wu Er then patted my back gently and said, Silly. My thoughts returned to the present. In the distance, I looked at the two people in the center of the hall being urged by the crowd to kiss, kiss. Watching Wang Luan gently kiss Wu Er's left cheek, I turned and left. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. My mind was full of the scene of Wang Luan kissing Wu Er today. But getting married? If that incident hadn't happened, we should be getting married too, right? As I thought this, my left leg began to ache again. Buzz, buzz, buzz. My phone buzzed, and I opened it to see a call from my boss. He didn't give me a chance to speak. Little Zhao, go to the hotel penthouse to be a companion tomorrow night. This was personally arranged by Miss Wu. She's the largest shareholder of our hotel, so don't offend her. I don't know what Miss Wu sees in you. With that, my boss hung up. The dial tone filled my ears, and my mind was filled with questions. Why would Wu Er specifically request me to be a companion? Could she have recognized me? Impossible. I'm so different from before. Sometimes I don't even recognize myself. There's no point thinking too much. I can only take things one step at a time. The next night, I arrived at the hotel penthouse on time. The decorations here were incredibly luxurious, with every ornament seemingly worth a fortune. If it weren't for Wu Er's request, I probably wouldn't have had the chance to come here in my entire life. Stepping into the private room, I saw Wu Er and Wang Luan sitting next to her. They were currently in the middle of discussing their engagement with a group of elders, talking about the betrothal gifts, wedding dresses, and more. Every number mentioned was astronomical for someone in my current position, and I just stood quietly behind her, head lowered, not uttering a word. Then Wu Er turned her head to look at me and pointed to a glass of wine on the table, saying, I can't hold my liquor well. You drink this for me. Miss Wu, this isn't in line with regulations, I said, burying my head even lower, forcing the words out. I used to call her Wu Er. This Miss Wu felt so strange. No matter how I said it, what regulations? In this hotel, I am the regulations. Wu Er seemed determined not to let me off the hook. I raised my head slightly, seeing Wu Er's brow furrowed as if she were upset by my refusal. Wang Luan and the elders at the table all looked confused, seemingly not understanding Wu Er's behavior. Seeing that if I didn't drink it, she wouldn't let it go, I sighed inwardly. I knew her. If I didn't comply, she wouldn't let me off for the entire night. I lowered my head, picked up the glass of wine from the table, turned around, and downed it all in one go, then went back to quietly standing behind her. What? Am I too embarrassing to look at that you have to turn your back? Of course not, Miss Wu. It was already against the rules for me to drink. If I drink while facing you all, I'm afraid I'd be fired soon. I cherish this job. Are you still short on money? Wu Er sneered, then brought over a whole bottle of wine and said to me, Drink this, and I won't pursue you for offending me. Otherwise, pack your bags and get lost. Okay, Wu Er, why make things difficult for a waiter? Wang Luan tried to smooth things over for me. Wu Er didn't budge. Her large eyes were fixed on me. I knew I couldn't resist her, so I could only take the bottle. The strong liquor burned its way down my throat. My stomach was churning. I did my best to finish the bottle. I suppressed the urge to vomit and bowed to Wu Er, then fled from the room. Dashing into the bathroom, I hugged the toilet bowl, throwing up wave after wave. It was as if I was throwing up stomach acid. Finally, after vomiting a mouthful of blood, I felt slightly better. Sitting on the toilet seat, I felt the metallic sweetness in my throat. I didn't blame her. No matter the reason, I had spoken too harshly to her back then. After hiding in the bathroom for half an hour, I guessed that she should be gone, so I opened the door and walked out. I was just pushing the door open when I saw Wu Er standing right outside, staring at me. I immediately lowered my head, trying to go around her. She grabbed me, pushed me against the wall, and yelled, Zhao, how long are you going to keep hiding from me? So she had recognized me long ago. I always thought I was good at disguising myself, but for my measly bit of pride, I stubbornly replied, Miss Wu, you've mistaken me for someone else. I'm not the Zhao you know. Mistaken? Even if you turned to ash, I would still recognize you. With that, she pushed me, and because I had a limp in my left leg, I couldn't stand properly and fell straight to the ground. Wu Er seemed to see my predicament, and her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She knelt down and reached out to caress my left leg. Her small mouth pursed, her eyes becoming blurry, and silent tears streamed down her face. Didn't you say you wanted to pursue a good life and a suitable girl? How did it end up like this? Why did it end up like this? Looking at Wu Er, whose face was covered in tears, my thoughts drifted back to when we were dating. Loving someone is like tending to a flower. When I was dating Wu Er, I spent a lot of money and used many methods to transform her from an ugly refugia into a peony blooming proudly in the wind. It's not an exaggeration to say that Wu Er truly transformed from an ugly duckling into a beautiful swan. She also worked hard. With my financial support, she studied diligently and even earned the opportunity to study abroad with a guaranteed postgraduate position. At the same time, Wu Er didn't disappoint my love. She always liked to nibble on my earlobe and tell me she loved me. She also enjoyed holding my arm and dreaming about our future life together. Zhao Li, she would say, the ancients said, only the clear breeze over the river and the bright moon between the mountains. Your name has river in it, and mine has moon. We truly are a match made in heaven. I've decided that in the future we'll name our child Zhaoyu. At that time, I also believed we would spend our lives together in such happiness. Unfortunately, an accident occurred. My father was set up, and our family business went bankrupt overnight, leaving us with a huge debt. My father couldn't handle the blow and committed suicide by jumping off a building. My mother managed to pay off the debts, but left me only a house before passing away in depression. What was once a happy family of 3 suddenly became just me alone. At that time, I felt like the sky had fallen. Then Wu Er's bastard father found her and demanded money, threatening to spread rumors that she was being kept as a mistress if she didn't comply. It was a crucial time for her postgraduate recommendation, and if such rumors spread, she would definitely lose her spot. Wu Er could only helplessly come to me. To help Wu Er solve this trouble, I used some methods to collect evidence of his gambling and handed it over to the police. Because of this, her father tried to kill me when he was arrested. In the end, he went to prison, and I was left with an incurable disability in my left leg. I knew that Wu Er's postgraduate studies abroad would cost a lot of money. Gritting my teeth, I sold the house my mother left me to fund her studies abroad. I, who had always solved problems with money, found that I could no longer support her. Moreover, I had become disabled and would even become a burden to her in the future. I loved her so much, and it was precisely because I loved her that I couldn't become her burden. She deserved a better life. I thought about breaking up, so on that rainy night, despite her kneeling on the ground and begging, I heartlessly brought up the breakup. She grabbed my pant leg, crying and asking what she had done wrong, why I wanted to leave her. If it was because of going abroad, she said she could give up her postgraduate opportunity to stay by my side. Everything I had done was to give her a better life. How could I let her give that up? So I coldly told her, I'm a rich second-generation kid. You're just a girl from a poor family. If it weren't for your looks, do you think you'd have a chance to talk to me? It was just for fun. Don't tell me you took it seriously. I tossed her a card containing all my assets, including the money from selling the house, totaling 5 million yuan. This money was enough for her to live comfortably as a student abroad. The money in there is payment for your youth these past few years. Of course, a poor kid like you has probably never seen so much money in your life. Don't worry, just consider it a reward from this young master. After saying this, I turned and left. Hearing her heart-wrenching cries behind me, my heart was torn to pieces, but I knew I couldn't turn back. If I turned back, I wouldn't be able to resist hugging her and telling her I loved her, but I couldn't, because if I did, everything I had done would have been in vain. Later, I heard that Wu Er went abroad to study the day after we broke up. As for me, with my family bankrupt, I tried to seek help from my former friends, but those so-called brothers, upon hearing about my family situation, avoided me like the plague. I became the poor wretch in their eyes. To survive, I worked as a laborer, did odd jobs, delivered food, but due to my physical condition, I couldn't keep any job for long. Finally, it was because the manager of this hotel took pity on me that I was given a position as a waiter to make a living. At the bathroom door, tears fell from Wu Er's eyes like broken strings of pearls, dripping onto my body. I reached out, wanting to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes, but my hand froze in midair. Our status was different now. I was no longer that young man who spent money like water, and she was no longer that little girl who followed me around. Now Wu Er was the country's hottest young entrepreneur, someone you could only see in the news, while I was just a cripple. A warmth spread across my palm as Wu Er actively placed her face in my hand. I wanted to withdraw my hands, but she held them tightly. Miss Wu? Call me Wu Er. That's what you used to call me. Wu Er, you can actually pretend not to know me after all. I'm just a cripple now, and you're... Wu Er didn't let me finish. She pulled me in her arms, gently patting my back. This time, since heaven has allowed me to meet you again, I definitely won't let you leave me. But aren't you getting engaged? You mean Wang Luan? Wu Er didn't answer my question, just gave me a mysterious smile, and pulled me out of the hotel without giving me a chance to speak. She pushed me into her car and took me back to her home. Opening the door, the scene before me brightened my eyes. This luxurious villa before me had such simple interior decorations, and it gave me a familiar feeling. Do you like it? Wu Er hugged me from behind. Remember? The decorations here are exactly the same as the apartment we lived in during university. All these years, only this place has given me moments of peace. At night, I lay in bed with Wu Er beside me, hugging my arm, her face resting on my chest. This moment was just like those moments back then. I stroked her head. I thought you would hate me. After all, I was so cruel back then. Wu Er wrinkled her nose in dissatisfaction. Do I look that stupid to you? We were together for so long. No one knows you better than I do. I admit, when you said those things, I was heartbroken, but when I calmed down abroad, I felt something wasn't right. I asked friends back home to find out where you were, but after you broke up with me, it was like you had vanished into thin air. They couldn't find you anywhere. I smiled bitterly. During that time, I was working in an illegal factory, not seeing daylight for years. Vanishing into thin air wasn't far from the truth. Wu Er slowly traced circles on my body with her finger. I've been waiting for you to tell me the truth. I sighed softly. With her current intelligence and resources, I probably couldn't hide my thoughts from her, so I told her everything exactly as it happened. including how I got injured and my family situation, where the money in the card came from. I poured it all out. After hearing my story, Wu Er bit my arm, tears welling in her eyes. You bastard. You didn't tell me anything. Bastard, bastard, bastard. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't we face it together? Am I that unbearable? With that, she buried her head in my chest, and soon my clothes were soaked with her tears. I patted her back gently, saying, "How could that be? Back then, I was a naive kid who suddenly faced a huge change. I lost all my money. I was just a useless wreck. You had a better future, so I had no choice but to take that course. Even if it made you hate me, I didn't want to be a burden to you. When did the moon first appear over the riverbank? When did the river moon first shine on people? You think you'd be my burden, but you don't know that Wu Er without Zhao Li is just a walking corpse." I was a little surprised. "Do you really think that way? But aren't you about to get engaged?" Wu Er giggled. "Instead of worrying about Wang Luan, you should worry about yourself. He likes your type the most." Hearing Wu Er's words, even if I were dumb, I could understand what they meant. "You mean he likes men?" "Silly." Wu Er tapped my head. "Otherwise why would I go through with this with him? We both got what we needed. As a young entrepreneur, his family needed a marriage to cover up the fact that he likes men, and I needed his resources. But now that you're back, this farce can end. Then will I have disrupted your plans?" I felt a little guilty. Wu Er whispered hot breath in my ear. "Silly, no one can compare to you. Then why did you make me drink so much? Who told you to bully me?" she said, gently licking my earlobe. I actually reacted to that. Wu Er looked at my flustered expression and chuckled, then sealed my lips with her own. After a long kiss, she flipped over and straddled me, her pretty face flushed. After a night of passion, Wu Er lay beside me, propped on her elbow. "You rest well today? I'm going to give you a surprise." I looked at her, confused. She kissed my cheek lightly, then hummed a tune as she went out. By the time the drinking party ended, it was late at night. I lay in bed, my hands behind my head, staring at the ceiling, Wu Er's figure lingering in my mind. I smiled gently. In my home, I knew that Wu Er was giving me a sense of security. In the afternoon, Wu Er came home, cheering and jumping for joy. She rushed to me and slapped the document in front of me, saying rather boldly, "Sign it." I opened the document. The content showed that Wu Er was transferring all her companies under my name. "What are you doing?" I asked, confused. "From now on, everything that belongs to this girl is yours, including this girl herself. No, this is all you worked hard for. There's no way I can sign." Ouch, ouch, ouch. Wu Er pinched my ear. "What do you mean? Are you going to leave me again?" "I won't leave you." "Then sign it quickly, or I'll roll around on the floor." Looking at Wu Er's stubborn attitude, there was nothing I could do. I could never win against her, so I could only obediently sign the transfer document. Wu Er saw that I had signed it, and she snuggled into my arms, lifting my chin. "From now on, you're the boss of the company. I'm just a little woman by your side. You'll take care of me from now on. And if you dare to let me down," and she raised her fist, I said sternly, "if I ever leave Wu Er again in this life, then may I never." Wu Er covered my mouth with her finger. "Don't say these things. I believe in you. I have another good piece of news. I've made an appointment for you with the best orthopedic surgeon in the country. Your leg can be saved. It's okay. I've gotten used to it these past years. But every time I see it, I think of everything you've done for me." Tears welled up in her eyes again. Okay, I'll listen to you. I'll get treatment." The surgery was a success. My leg quickly recovered. When I could walk normally, there wasn't much of a ripple in my heart. Indeed, whether or not it was good didn't really matter that much to me. Looking at Wu Er beside me, because the most beautiful thing in the world was right by my side. I proposed to Wu Er at the hotel where we had reunited. Just a few days ago, I was still just an observer, and now I was in the center, in front of countless guests, pulling out the prepared ring and kneeling on one knee. "Wu Er, will you marry me?" "I do." Wu Er covered her mouth, her eyes indeed red. Half a year later, we held our wedding. Many friends came to the wedding, including Wang Luan, who brought his little girlfriend. Since he and Wu Er broke off their engagement, his family had understood. People only live once, so why should there be so many rules? Our family's relationship also got better and better. A year later, our child was born, a daughter. We named her Xiaoyu.